What's up, guys? Welcome to EXTRADOSing. This is a very special edition of EXTRADOSing. MadDog and I have been talking about Last of Us off mic for a long time, and we were thinking this would make a great extra dose. There's going to be spoilers in here.
Yeah.
So
if you're not caught up,
we're talking about nothing's off limits, except a couple of video game stuff that might affect the plot because we didn't play the game, so we're not going to mention that stuff. So
it'll be up to what we've seen on television now.
Yes. And also, we have two special guests in studio, Emerson and Tommy, straight from the UK.
These are the guys that won our Christmas or Black Friday merch giveaway, and we're happy to have them all the way from across the pond.
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourselves? Just give a little taste of that sweet British accent.
I'm Emerson. I guess this is my British accent. I don't know if it sounds
British.
Yeah, and I'm Tommy. We're both from the north of England.
Love it.
Sort of like Leeds and Newcastle way. So yeah.
If you know where that is.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did you guys hear about us if you're from England?
Well, I've like listened to Barstool for years.
Okay.
And then just listen to Part of My Take and all that. And then whenever a new show comes out, I just listen to it. And then if I like it, I stick with it. And I was watching the Black Friday giveaway thing. Probably had one too many Coors Lights, and I was like, I'll just buy a bunch of stuff. Brought a bunch of stuff. Then I sent an email to the Twitter account. I was like, hey, I done this. Didn't realize I did it. Then I woke up in the morning. The message saying like, oh, you won. And I was like, okay. So I watched the episode, and then obviously there's like, oh, you better come now. And I was like, I kind of like put myself into a corner. Well, now I've got to go to New York, but I'm happy to be here.
I looked at the old DM, and you were like, I'll come to New York if I win this. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
I didn't really realize that I said it until like, I looked back, and I was like,
I really said that, didn't I?
Yeah, I was talking to my girlfriend. I was like, I kind of like backed myself into a corner now. And then Aaron Foster kind of said, we're calling your ass out. He said, yeah. So
when Aaron calls you out, you got to do it.
Oh man, this is hilarious.
And then Billy was like, I hope you've got like air miles. But no air miles. Just
the love of the game.
Yeah.
Well, we're happy to have you here, and we're happy to be talking about my hyperfixation as of late, The Last of Us.
Yes. Honestly, I think let's go back to the way beginning. The intro of the first episode, I think, was very prevalent to today's like the coronavirus, COVID-19, like that, like talk show about the juxtaposition of one guy talking about viruses. And like we all just been through a pandemic and like we're like, well, viruses are dangerous. We saw what had happened. And then another guy being like, no, screw viruses. We've been battling viruses since like the dawn of man.
Right. Like what makes this so different?
Yeah. We should be more worried. And we're like more worried than a virus because we just went through the whole world, just went through like the biggest pandemic since 1912. And there's something else we got to be worried about.
Right.
He's like fungus. So I think that was a really great way to set up the whole series. And especially that first episode.
Oh, yeah. And it has that, like you said, it has that real life tie. And it was spooky. Like, you're like, shit, this could, because it's in my brain when I first watched that episode, I was like, this is what would happen if COVID didn't get like handled and got really out of hand. Obviously, no one turned into zombies when they got COVID. But again, like a pandemic to a Mass Effect to a worldwide audience. So I don't know.
I mean, honestly, that first episode where everything's normal and like you hear little bits of things on the news and then it all just shit hits the fan so quickly.
In the drop of a hat.
Yeah. So actually, it reminded me of when I first heard about COVID, I was actually in the north of Italy doing a little study abroad program. And that was the first place the Western world realized how bad COVID was.
Italy got it like
really bad.
2 or 3 weeks before we did.
Well, because what a lot of people, so it was bad in China, and my feed was showing me all these crazy videos coming from China, people just dropping dead in the street, which we now know were just random people having like different types of medical conditions that were just being compiled. And so I'd seen that, and then on Italian TV, like I didn't speak that good Italian at the time, and I was seeing all.
Do you speak better Italian now?
Una birra.
Okay.
Yeah.
There it is.
But I was like we'd see them very panicked, and they'd be like up in where was it at first? Milan. Milan. So near all the garment factories in northern Italy, there's a lot of immigrant workers who fly in from China bi-weekly.
Mm-hmm.
So every 2 weeks they fly back to China and then fly back, and that's cheaper labor than actually hiring Italians.
Well,
and also the birth rate, there's a small labor pool. So a lot of the stuff you buy from the garment factories like Gucci, Prada, all that stuff are made by Chinese people in Italy. So they can still put in Italy on it, but like it's made by Chinese workers.
Made in Italy by Chinese workers that are not getting paid fairly.
That's why they're so good at doing the knockoffs in China.
Because
they were like, okay, this is how they do it there. What they can't replicate is the quality of the leather and all that stuff. So it we thought we were in a horror movie, like, because you remember in the beginning of the first episode, that you just hear like, oh, Indonesia's had to drop.
Jakarta had to drop a bomb.
Like it was the exact same. It was like Milan had a huge shutdown. They're now enforcing restrictions. No one can go outside. And we were like, what? And then we got shipped home, and like that just brought me back to that moment where it was like we were like, oh my god, like we might be in the middle. And then we saw a bunch of people in hazmat suits and stuff around, and it was like the craziest thing. So that first episode of like the build up to when shit hit the fan, like really gave me the chills. Yeah, no, and it was terrifying. I watched the first 2 episodes at the same time. So I watched the Outbreak Day episode, and then them basically going the first leg of their trip with Tess. I watched together. And it is insane to see in that short period, like back to back of like, this is what life was like in 2003 when Outbreak Day started, and Sarah's alive and well, and rest in peace, Sarah. And then, it flashes, and 20 years later, Joel is doing like sewage detailing and, picking up shit and burning infected people. Yeah. And it's crazy to see like back to back how much has changed in 20 years, not that long of a time period if you really think about it. Right. But in the same way, 2003 I think was a better place to start the episode. Pre-social media. Yeah. Pre-iPhone. Post 9/11 America. Yeah. So they thought it was a terrorist attack when it first happened. That was what the fear was. And how that, I think, set up a better place for the apocalypse, because we wouldn't be like, why aren't they calling each other? Right. And because in the game, it's 2013 is Outbreak Day. Yeah. So it's a 10 years pushback, which I really like too. Again, I haven't played the game. I want to play a playthrough, or I want to watch a playthrough, but it's interesting to see. Yeah. No social media. And it's like right before, like, again, like 2013 was like kind of right in that time of like the, alt-right conspiracy theory, all of that we know today is like modern social media. But in 2003, it was like before all that. Yeah. Post 9/11 America, it was September 26th is Outbreak Day. So that's like right when the Iraq war was starting. Yeah. Like it was such a different time period where that kind of thing, again, in any time period, it would wipe out America, or it would wipe out the world. But that has such a different grip on what life would look like then versus even 10 years later. Something that was very interesting, and we learned this. Do you remember how they couldn't find the pancake mix in the first part of the episode? So I wanted to talk about that. Yeah. They were that close. So there's 4 different ways that they avoid getting infected in the first episode. The first is when the grandma and the neighbor next door, they're like, do you want some biscuits? Yeah. And Joel and Sarah are like, oh, maybe. And then Joel says, oh, I'm on Atkins, which is the low carb diet that was like sweeping the nation. So he was on a low carb diet, quote unquote. And then Sarah was like, oh, yeah, I'll come after school. That's 1. 2 is when she comes over and, or she can't get pancakes to make for Joel's birthday. Right. That's 2. So that's, again, flour. 3 is when she goes over to those neighbor houses after school, and the neighbor offers her cookies, and she's like, no, I don't like oatmeal raisin. I only like chocolate chip. Oh. Then 4 is it was Joel's birthday, and he didn't get and he forgot to get the birthday cake on the way home from work. Oh my God. So there are 4 different times in that first episode that they could have been infected and weren't, which kind of sets up of like this kind of Joel has been barely escaping death for 20 years. And isn't it sad that on Outbreak Day, Sarah avoided getting infected? Because originally, as you now know in the show, they got the Cordyceps started in the largest flour mill in Jakarta, in Indonesia. Yeah. So isn't it crazy that so much had to happen for them not to get infected on Outbreak Day, and yet she still died? Just
out of,
Yeah. Then
gunfire.
wow.
So isn't that nuts?
That execution scene, where the soldiers being ordered to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was like heavy because you could tell the soldiers like, what the hell? They don't look infected, and he's getting orders, getting yelled at through his earpiece, and he has to shoot them.
Well, and it's one of those things where it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was you woke up that morning and it was fine, and then you went to bed that night and the world was on fire. And it's not like anyone else had time to prep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like the soldiers had more time to prep than we did, from what it seems.
What's weird is that in that situation they never really recognize zombies.
Because in my brain they're not zombies. They're also not dead.
Right. But the whole idea of a zombie outbreak, right? Like, for example, when we saw that bath salt epidemic, in 2014.
Oh, yeah, when people were, losing their shit.
Yeah, we were like, oh, man, is this zombies? Some guy just chewed off someone's face?
Right. No, it's just bath salts.
People doing bath salts, and everyone was like, is this a zombie outbreak starting? And this is just, the first stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people cut to zombies now, if it's in the national conscious, much faster than anyone did. No one's they're guessing terrorist attack, they're guessing this, that, but they never said zombies. I found that interesting, even though they're not technically zombies.
So they're not technically zombies. They also don't, you're watching the show, and if you played the game, they don't look like the zombie that The Walking Dead and, traditional American media has slated them to look.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with the cordyceps is that they attack the nervous system. So they're not killing you. They're taking over you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not this weird undead. Again, they have those similar tendencies, but they're not dead, as you see, because when they die, they die.
I didn't know. Huh.
If Joel or, Ellie or Tess or Marlene or whoever is killing an infected, it effectively dies.
And they're killing a human.
They're killing the human, though, that is inside of body. So.
I would love to see, and maybe they hopefully do an episode like this, through the eyes of someone who gets infected.
And what that process is like.
Yeah, they almost got into it a little when Joel's first partner dies.
Oh, Tess?
I literally wanted to see a first person view getting infected.
Of the transformation.
Yeah, and that would be a great episode if they're someone who got infected, they're still conscious, they still have a stream of thought, but they can't do anything except obey the fungus.
Right, because the whole thing is and in episode 5 they talk about it with Henry and Sam, but it's is the human still inside once the infection the infection has taken over? Is that human still, is the soul still in there? Is kind of the effective question that you're asking.
Is the brain still active?
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
I mean,
from what, and again, cordyceps infects ants in our lives, and they've studied it, and it's the brain is still functioning. It's trying its best to fight off the cordyceps, but there is still a human being inside of there. It's not fully gone away based on what it's like in ants.
I mean, what's crazy is that cordyceps fungus is taken by a lot of people. As
you including.
Yeah, I didn't do it that much, but apparently it's great for gains, your muscle, your they put a bunch of average weightlifting males on it, and
as control subjects.
Yeah, and they gave it them, and the guys on the cordyceps had a much higher strength benefit after so many weeks. I don't have the exact study up, but
which kind of makes sense if you're looking at it they become these crazy humans that can jump and tear you apart and all of that kind of stuff, especially if they become clickers and then bloaters, and then they turn into these just ginormous fungus.
Jumping
people.
Ahead here, what the hell was that brute monster
in episode
fungus?
5?
Yeah.
So that's a bloater. So I've done Emerson has played the game, so what's going on. Please don't tell me what happens at the end of season 1. But there's a chain of command of how long you're infected and what you kind of turn into. So that in episode 5, which comes out of that sinkhole, that effectively kills Perry, is a bloater. So it's when you're infected for several years and you've kind of been in a dark, you haven't been actively infecting other people. You've been kind of stagnant in one place. Am I correct so far?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
think
it's
that also why in that episode, they kind of like hinted that they pushed all the infected underground.
Yeah, all of the
I think
infected
That
are
was why
underground.
He was a bit more
Super powered.
So you
because-
basically grow, the fungus just grows out of you. So, and it hardens because he's so big, it hardens the outside. So it's harder for them to like kill you because he has basically a sheet of armor on him.
So was it a jack dude who became?
I'm sure it was a bigger dude, but it was it's just the fungus has slowly taken over. He started as a normal infected, and then he's just remained stagnant and alive for long enough that the fungus has taken up enough of his body and grown outside.
Okay, so the bloater was played by a 6'5".
Oh, I saw a picture of this dude.
Yeah,
I think he was
Adam,
British. That's right.
Adam Basil.
Adam
yeah.
Basil. He's like what's that guy? Dave Bautista. Similar
Oh,
vibes.
he's like Batista.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this dude's huge.
Yeah. But
Whoa.
again, in real life, or in the game, I don't know what he was actually supposed to like. His figure was before all of that, but
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Jesus Christ.
Hmm.
Just going back to the hardened skin thing as well. I think there's a couple of them that have like the hardened skin sticking out their face a little bit,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
a weird.
And it goes
Yeah.
it like blossoms out of their face.
Where some of them are not like that. They're just
And that's
regular people.
the clicker because they can't see anymore, but they can have they have echolocation, and that's when they do the clicking, like in episode 2, where there's the 2 clickers. That's because they can't see, but the clicking like signals their echolocation so they can hear you, and then that's how they infect you.
So fun fact: the show's makers have branded our. Okay, so cinematographer Evan Bolton revealed that the word zombie had been banned from being spoken on set.
Oh, I'm sure, because again, they're not zombies.
Right, but they play the same
Idea,
apocalyptic role.
right? But it's different because I feel like in this version of an undead creature or whatever, when you get infected in other zombie adaptations, it's more, you immediately turn into this gory blah 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 blah. But when you get infected, which we've seen several times with, again, in episode 2 with Tess, and in the recent episodes, when you get infected, it's not an immediate turn, and it could be 2 minutes or 2 days, like how Riley says in Sunday's episode. Like it is a slow progression, and then you become these crazy things the longer you last in this world.
There was also a bit on that in the first episode when they're in the school. There's the kid at the desk and he's like twitching.
Yeah, and that's the first sign of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean the grandma.
Yeah, because she's like,
Yeah, the grandma in the back. Remember, she was in the background of one of the scenes, and she starts freaking out.
right. But like all of that, to be said, and I think about this every episode. It's like, how the fuck has Joel lasted this long? How's anyone lasted this long without getting infected?
Oh, you know what? Also, what happened to the dogs?
So I watched a YouTube video on that, like what happened to the pets
Yeah.
in The Last of Us, and it's like, from what if humans can get infected with cordyceps at this point, there's no deniability that pets can't get infected too.
Oh, so they just killed all of them?
Probably.
Damn.
Or I'm sure that like so much of the population has died off that no one's taking care of animals.
10 years, yeah.
20, like in the show, it's 20 years. Like I feel like they're, because they have that dog when they go to Jackson
Right.
that sniffs out the infected.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
True. They do have the dog.
That's a different, and we'll get to that, but like that's a different life that they're living out there. So they
Right.
may have just kept domesticated pets for that
And
long.
dogs that could sniff out the virus were probably very valuable.
Well, exactly.
And then I'm like, because I'm remembering the first like Australian Shepherd who was barking at the grandma
Mm-hmm.
and was in her the daughter's house,
Mm-hmm.
and like ran in. It was like something's wrong is happening. So I'm like, the fact that there's no like wild dogs running around,
Or that's just not
horses.
part of the show that
Is
they're
Is
showing.
this a plot hole?
Where are
picked
the
up.
animals in The Last of Us? Yeah, I mean, they take the horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they get infected because I was nervous that when they were riding that horse, that the horse would get bitten and then infected.
Yeah.
And then what the fuck does that do?
Yeah. So something about the let's talk about the warring factions amongst the
The different QZs.
QZs. Yeah. So there's the Fedra,
Mm-hmm.
who I guess is
FEMA in
FEMA.
real life.
FEMA
Or
turns to
that's
Fedra.
it's the FEMA counterpart in this world.
What? Well, what does Fedra stand for?
It's the, I know this. It's
Federal
Disaster Relief
Response Agency.
So it's FEMA.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And
they just took over.
I watched it again. None of this is like spoilers because none of it's confirmed, but I watched an analysis video on like who is Fedra and how did they come to be. And this guy was like, we can assume, and I don't know if this is in the game. I don't think it is because they were like, I don't know, but like FEMA and Fedra are counterparts. Mm-hmm. And you can assume that there's probably no higher government anymore. Mm-hmm. Based on the fact that these QZs are kind of their own city-states. And in the show, if the outbreak is in 2003, George Bush is the president when Outbreak Day happens, which is tough. And then from there, it's, when does Fedra take over? How long did a government last? How long did the president last? How long was there a cabinet? How long was a secretary? Like all of those things that, how long was there a functioning government before Fedra took over, and how did Fedra take over? Was it a peaceful transition of power? Probably not. And or did they just overtake everything and they just were like, we're running the shit now? Because I think having Fedra run it with no consequences shows you how places like Kansas City in the QZ came to be.
I'm just wondering, just during the Iraq War, I wonder what happened on, is there a huge, still a base in Iraq with a bunch of soldiers who didn't get infected?
But it's it's worldwide, so I'm sure that they were infected in Iraq, and they're eating bread.
Right, but
flour.
They were probably, that's where I feel like there might be an established QZ where there's just a bunch of former, U.S., U.S. personnel, all because that base.
And I guess they have weapons.
Yeah, so that would have been probably the best place at the start of the outbreak to sort of just figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but back to Kansas City, why did they take I-80? Did they take I-80? Is that the road I'm thinking of?
Yes.
Why did they take I-80 and not?
That I'm not sure, because in the game, again, not a spoiler. In the game, it's Pittsburgh that they have all of this go down in.
Oh.
So. I've listened to, which I suggest if you're following the show, to listen to the Last of Us podcast, not No Free Ads, but the companion podcast that goes with it, because it gives you kind of behind the scenes of the showrunner and the directors and what they were thinking. But they basically were just it's hard to replicate Pittsburgh when you're not in Pittsburgh because of all the bridges.
Yeah.
And they wanted more time to pass for Ellie and Joel's relationship to form. So why they took I-80, I'm not sure. I'm not an interstate expert. I am a rest stop expert, but not an interstate expert. So
I guess maybe it was a clear path. There's probably definitely an explanation for it. But when they hit that truck, I totally felt like there was better ways they could have gotten through that truck.
You said that, and I don't understand what you're saying because it was a huge semi that's in the middle of the road. Where did you want them to go?
I just felt like they could. I don't know. I think they could have either tried to pull the semi out using their truck, which isn't that hard. You just throw it in neutral.
But they don't have a tow.
They have a pickup truck. I just thought there was more creative ways they could have figured out how to get past that truck.
But then you also have to remember you don't want to make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it too, where it's you can't really draw attention to yourself. Moving a semi truck could draw and make enough noise that infected come.
Or drive back. Right.
Well, that's what I thought they were to do, is basically just turn around and hitch another route.
The other side of the road, there was one that was just one tunnel. The other side of the road, go back to where cops hang out for speeding tickets. Go to the other side. Yeah. I don't know, but you know what? That's just to create plot. But what's interesting is so the fireflies weren't in charge in the QZ.
No, they're rebellion.
Yeah, rebellion. So that's a totally different group of people.
Yeah. So there's the Fedra, which is who's in charge. It's the basically functioning government and how we've ended up where we are. And then the fireflies are, the rebellion movement that is trying to make better by whatever they deem necessary. But no, they're not a functioning government entity. They're just a group.
Yeah. So, but what's crazy is how brutal they got. Because there's a phenomenon in history that when a authoritarian force holds oppresses a population for such a long time, the way that population responds once they get into power is almost with worse force.
Well, I think it's one of the, an eye for an eye kind of thing, or it's how parents sometimes say well, this is how my dad was with me, or whatever. I think it's something like that. And it's if I were in that situation and I was a firefly, I'd be pissed. I would be just mad that this is the world I live in. Also, I'd have put a bullet in my head. Outbreak.
I mean, when U.S. soldiers liberated a Holocaust camp, once they released the prisoners, they just went after the captured Germans and tore them limb for limb, which is an example of this.
Right.
But when there's a super terrible fascist force oppressing a group that once so that kind of, they talked about that in the episode after the first after the Kansas City episode.
Okay.
Where they were this is a phenomenon in history, and I think they used that example.
Yeah,
that's why they were so terrible, and how they were literally about to kill a little kid,
Sam,
a little deaf kid. Yeah.
Ugh.
That was heart-wrenching.
I know. Hold on, but one of my favorite quotes is from that exact time period that you're talking about, where it's Holocaust survivors basically if there is a God, and if I die and there is a God, he would have to beg for my forgiveness.
Yeah. Well,
I know, right? But before we get into Henry and Sam, I think we should get into Bill and Frank.
Before we get into Bill and Frank, I think we should get a little into Tess
and Joel. Okay, let's back it up. Okay. Tess and Joel. Lovers? Question mark? Yes.
Are we talking? Wait, Tess is not. She's not the one who died.
She is the one who died.
Oh, okay.
She's the one who died in the huge.
Yes.
His partner.
Yeah. They were definitely lovers and partners.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more of you're good at what you do, surviving and
you're good at what you do. I'm good at what I do. Let's do it together.
She hopped in bed with him. I think they were.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think they were emotionally they're so emotionally disconnected.
Yeah.
Because of the world they were in, and this is something interesting because literally, Joel's first daughter, Sarah, killed. Then he has to live in a world where literally no emotions matter. Right. A war zone, literally he has to.
He's cut himself off emotionally to anything.
Because if he lets anything get him, it's going to cause him to break down.
Right. He's had to go through the worst pain imaginable. Why would he open himself up for that to happen again?
Yeah. So when she dies, he knew that something like that might happen.
It's the risk you have to take in that world.
So I don't think they would have been truly connected if it one day if they got
to Jackson.
Yeah, if they got to Jackson, they'd be like, oh my God, and just be all over each other because they finally feel safe.
Right.
But in that, you can't.
I mean, they're two hardened people.
Yes.
But no, I think Tess is also, I think what makes Joel so upset, or not upset, but nervous when she dies, along with the fact that everything has happened with her and, whatever, is that she was the leader. He was her counterpart. She was the one that was kind of running ship. Mm-hmm. And so now he has to do it alone with this little girl who he has no idea how he's going to go with.
And I think the first time Joel felt emotion in
years,
20 years, was when the Fedra guard was about to get.
And he kills him.
Ellie. Yeah, and he kills him. And then because he just has PTSD back to when his daughter was killed, and he didn't want anything to do with Ellie. But after that moment, and after Tess told him he has to.
Now we got each other.
Yeah. And that, I think, has led to his sort of deconstruction, sort of having attachment and emotions towards Ellie as a daughter, has broken his whole mental. And why we saw in the last episode
when they were in Jackson with Tommy,
he's starting to have some panic attacks, which happens to a lot. This guy's been in war zone mentality. Think about troops coming back from war zones. They get back to real life and they start having panic attacks because they're actually in it because they couldn't freeze up when they were over there.
Right. No. So yeah, I think Tess gets infected. They have to leave Tess, and it's not choice. They have to.
Yeah.
They can't bring Tess along. She will get infected and, in turn infect them.
Mm-hmm.
They have to leave her. That's when he's like, okay, I'm on my fucking own with this piece of cargo at this point, Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
And how the fuck am I going to figure out how to do this on my own? And I've lost the one person who I did care about prior. So then we're on the road with them, and she and Ellie, which I agree, she's like, don't blame this on me. It's not my fault that she got infected. It's not my fault she died. I don't want to be here with you, but everyone says that I'm this fucking cure.
Yeah, big spoiler alert.
Big spoiler in the first 10 minutes of the episode.
Yeah.
But so don't blame this on me and don't resent me for something that I didn't do, which I appreciate that she said that, because again, it isn't her fault. Unfortunately, that's the world they live in where this just happens.
And I think we're going to find out in the next coming episodes that she wishes she didn't have the cure. Like, she wishes she might
Don't
have
say
been,
anything.
Yeah. She wishes she probably didn't, because like I think last time we saw them, she was sitting with, sorry, I'm terrible with character names. Who's the firefly in the mall?
Riley.
I wanted to say Rue, but that's Hunger Games.
That's Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Yes. And funnily enough, she plays Rue's sister in Euphoria.
Huh. Yes.
Isn't Rue Euphoria's name as well?
That's the main character in Euphoria. She plays her sister. Yeah.
There's Rue in Hunger Games too, right?
There is a Rue in Hunger Games. You're right.
Yeah. So,
who also dies?
Yeah. So she's probably like waiting to die with her best friend's maybe
crush.
I mean, I think they made that apparent.
I mean, they kissed.
They did?
Riley and Ellie, yeah.
Wait, when did they kiss?
In the episode, Billy. Right before they get infected. Billy.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, so they are lovers.
Well, not lovers. They're 14 and they had a kiss. But
Okay.
they had a crush on each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you see that. I don't know if it's that Ellie doesn't want to be the cure. It's that she is nervous for what this means. And also, like she said, everyone that she knows and loves has left her.
Yeah.
Besides Joel. So she doesn't want that loss of Riley, similar to how Joel has that loss of Sarah.
Yeah.
The closest person you have in this world. She doesn't want to go through that pain again of losing Joel, which we see. Anyways, Bill and Frank. That was one of the greatest TV episodes.
Love stories ever.
Also, shout out PFT. He just caught up yesterday. I was talking about it after we recorded, and he was like, he said he's excited to hear this, but he was like, Bill and Frank, that's like the best episode of TV I've ever seen. Which I agree.
There's probably recency bias.
Probably.
But that just because they did I think the writers did it the best way, because it didn't feel like, and I don't want this to come off badly, but it didn't feel like a forced same-sex couple.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had elements.
Them being gay wasn't the point of the story.
Yeah, I remember at the end of the episode, I'm seeing these two dudes kiss, and
crying
at the beginning, I'm like, oh my god, but it was something that we've never seen on TV, because there was intricacies that don't get portrayed much in Hollywood.
Normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But him being like a Alex Jones conspiracy theorist.
Him being his Parks and Rec character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Post
Ron Swanson.
Yeah.
Him being Ron Swanson in this show. Yeah. And it is an interesting take on it, because I won't say what happens, but I know it's different in the game. I know that plot is different. I won't say what it is.
In the game, I heard he found that's my partner who is hanging, and that could have been interpreted that he was gay, because the game's different. They don't die together. Anyway, let's not get too much into the game.
No game, but yeah, I mean, just such a great episode of TV. I was emotionally wrecked, and I think it also shows that this is our first glimpse of seeing. We see it in Jackson later, but that's our first glimpse of showing people do live lives in this world that aren't in a QZ, and they aren't miserable, terrible beings.
When they fought, when
he wanted to make the house pretty.
Yeah,
he's like, let me love it the way I love it.
And then he goes, and we're having guests over.
Mm-hmm.
And having Bill go along. Frank.
Bill is Nick Offerman.
Yeah, having Bill go along with it, just like that, just showed like because he was so isolationist.
Yeah,
and he was allowing, first he broke down a wall by having Frank come in, and now he's breaking down another wall
by having Joel and Tess come in,
and you can see, him with the gun pointing at him at the dinner table, just like doing something, and that actually showed
how much he loves him.
He's like, I fucking would never let anybody into my compound that I've spent years building.
Right. I was listening to the podcast about this episode, and they were like, that shows the two differences of how people love. Bill wants to protect Frank and wants nothing to hurt Frank, and he wants to keep him in this little bubble that he'll never get hurt. And Frank wants to bring love in and be like, look at how beautiful this life can be if we let it be. And those are like the two dichotomies of their love for each other. And I mean, it also shows that, like what I said earlier, like people, again, it's a different life, but people survive and good things could happen in this world sometimes. Yeah. And obviously the end of their story is them dying, but it's not a sad ending.
How funny was it when Bill took out a bottle of Camus?
I was dying. Backstory.
Yeah.
Backstory. Arian loves Camus, which is this fancy wine. And every time we're with Arian, he drinks Camus. Yeah. And it's also, whoever likes my dad's favorite wine too. But he brings out this huge pallet of Camus, which where are you getting? I guess the liquor store in town. Yeah. But I thought the same thing. I was like, oh my God, this is so funny.
Yeah.
But the way that it's similar to a Joel and Tess where they're more emotional and they're more open with how they're feeling because they're not living in a QZ and have to, have their guard on 24/7. But it is like at the beginning, what can I do for you? What can you do for me?
Yeah.
He's like, can I just be fed and have a shower? And then it turns into,
and then he starts playing
the piano, playing Linda Ronstadt.
I mean, the whole, like, making a whole dinner for yourself, red wine, and then, like, Frank comes in and his gaydar is just going off, and he's like, this dude, 100%. Like, tough exterior, but very soft.
And then Frank is like, who's the girl? Basically confirming what he already knows. Who's the girl? There is no girl. And he says, I know. And it is one of those things where it's like, it's not a gay love story. It's a love story nonetheless. Every single person could connect to Bill and Frank and be like, this is, if I had to be in this is what I would want.
Yeah. Like they love each other.
And
I would put it as one of the best
love story.
I put it up there with The Notebook as
they kind of died the same way.
Yeah.
Together.
Kind of. Yeah. I'd put it up there with that.
Totally.
As like just as a love story.
Pure love.
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, I found it more interesting than The Notebook.
Well, it's definitely more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was more entertained by it.
Yeah. It was one of the best pieces of television I've ever sat down and watched.
But and you know what, when Bill gets shot.
Oh yeah.
When Bill gets shot and the flamethrowers are going off.
And he's like, call Joel.
Yeah, and then it cuts off.
And then we think
fast forward and we're like, oh, is he dead? And they're like, oh, he's in a wheelchair. Oh no,
Frank's in a wheelchair.
And that was like what?
I mean, Bill is not going down that easily.
Yeah.
And he also hates Joel in the show.
Yeah. But he puts up with him.
He respects Joel because of what, again, he's recognized. Again, they've both recognized this respect for each other of like, you've survived the song, I've survived the song. What can you do for me and what can I do for you?
Well, the thing is, in that post-apocalyptic world, Joel represents everything Bill hates. Someone who's moving around, wheelie dealing, does anything to survive, would 100% if he wasn't in that like he's a smuggler. If he wasn't with Tess and didn't contact Frank, he probably would have ran up on Bill and tried to steal supplies from him.
Totally.
And so that juxtaposition of like him being like Bill being a sheepdog and Joel obviously being a wolf, he's like very wary of him the whole time.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite lines from that episode is when Frank is trying to get Bill to let him like decorate the house how he wants, and he's like, you think all of the government is Nazis? And he goes, they are. He goes, now they are.
They were the whole time.
But yeah, and then, I mean, they end it in the best way possible of they die together. And then again, Joel and Ellie show up and the letter rips me apart.
Yeah.
I was happy when everyone died. And then I found someone worth saving. And it was Frank. But that leads us into, you know, Joel and Ellie get supplies. They take a pit stop there. And then they get into Kansas City.
I don't understand why they wouldn't. Well, because she has the cure.
Why the fuck aren't they stopping in Jackson?
Yeah.
Why? If I were them. But I am weaker than them.
Stopping in Jack. Oh, yeah.
And just being like, I'm with my brother. I have a house to be like, I would quit so easily.
Like we could save the world, but no.
We also don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's when, I mean, Joel breaking down when he sees the first I think the combination of Ellie and his brother being there and him finally showing emotions, like sort of that's what is causing a lot of his anxiety attacks. Because now he's always had all this anxiety, but now he can show emotion. He's like, oh no, it's hitting me.
Right. And I think episode 4 is when you see, so after Bill and Frank, episode 4 is when you see that breakdown of Joel's getting emotionally attached to Ellie. It's when that cute scene is of them in the car and she finds the porn magazine and she's like, what's all this? Like, and you see that they're on this road trip and he's listening to Hank Williams. You see them start to break down that guard that they have for one another and start to care about each other as human beings rather than just you're trying to get me from point A to point B.
In the pun joke book.
Yeah.
That breaks down
and he's giggling. Right. And it breaks that down. And I think once they get to Kansas City and then they have Ellie has to shoot that guy. Yeah. And then they have that conversation of, I'm sorry you had to do that for me. Because again, Joel isn't reacting as quickly because he's going deaf because of the shots.
Oh.
Like the gun. Yes. So
How do we know that?
It's like a well-known.
Have they commented that he's going deaf?
In here. In the podcast. And it's like if you're going, you can hear he talks about it, he can't hear out of his I want to say right ear.
His right ear, because that's actually no. I'm trying to think about when I've shot a gun, which ear it hurts the most. It kind of hurts the left because the black. I don't know.
But one of his ears is going deaf, and so he sleeps on that ear. So he sleeps on the other ear, so he can't hear those guys coming up on him.
Yeah.
So Ellie does, obviously.
That's why he always turns away from her.
And so Ellie obviously hears them, and Ellie took the gun from Bill and Frank's, so she was able to shoot them. And then they have that conversation. He goes, I remember the first time I shot someone. I'm so sorry you had to do that at such a young age. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to protect you. And she was like, well, it's not my first time.
Well, she shot an infected. Do you think she's also killed a person?
Well, we don't know at that point.
Because that's what I was thinking when she was talking about, because we know she had to run with infected, and she killed an infected in the basement of the Cumberland
when she
farm.
Slashes the... Yeah, but I think this is her first time Joel thinks this is her first time shooting someone.
I think she may have shot somebody. I think we're going to find out that she's shot a human before.
Well, okay, hold on.
Just my prediction.
So I think I know what you're... Hold on. Let me get there. But they have that conversation that kind of breaks down that emotional barrier, at least. And...
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, you think she shot...
Yeah, Riley.
Riley?
Yeah. But we'll get to that. Hold on.
Oh, man.
Don't tell me.
Oh my God, that's such a great way for them to line it up, because you think, oh, that's what she shot, but it's, oh my God.
So, again, not confirmed, and I have no idea, but that's what I think.
Also, they butchered 10 miles outside of Boston. And
you went to college in Massachusetts.
I mean, that's so funny, because I had all my friends who are like from Boston. They're like, I live 10 miles outside of Boston. Where is that? I want to go to that.
In the middle of the Berkshires.
Yeah. Like, where's that beautiful stream? Right. like I'm 10 miles. Yeah. And then having a Cumbies is like is
that a Massachusetts thing? I don't know what it is.
Such a Northeast thing.
Okay.
Like Cumbies is for people.
Is that like a Wawa?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Cumbies is like Dunkin' Donuts for people who need to get gas and are like, yeah.
Yeah.
The coffee isn't as good as Dunkin', but like a lot of people stock up there.
Okay. But yeah, so episode 4, you kind of see them try to figure out, they're in Kansas City now, like, what the fuck? And then you also see Kathleen. You start to see Kathleen, who is one of the scariest characters in my opinion, and I don't think she's in the game from what I've heard. I heard that she's like a new character that they've developed in the game or in the show. Because she sounds, and every character she's played in other roles has been very sweet, very like cute.
Yeah.
Someone like me.
Yeah.
That me calling myself sweet and cute, but no. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
very
100%.
innocent. And it's like a kindergarten teacher
Yeah.
being like, kill them.
Yeah, and she says it. I mean, I think that just goes to show how much that Fedra, like, fascism, like, really causes regular sweet people to literally become like kill everybody.
Mm-hmm. And there is no, what I like about this show and how they depict it is there's no good and no bad, because you kind of see both sides. Again, Kathleen is trying to kill what we find out is Henry and Sam, but you kind of know why, and you sympathize her. They killed her brother, and she loved her brother so much.
I think they were just informers.
No, Henry killed the brother for leukemia supplies.
Oh, he did?
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Henry killed her brother
to get supplies for leukemia.
Didn't the brother get captured and beaten in a
Oh
Fedra
yeah,
facility?
so maybe you're right.
I think he killed somebody else, another firefly. Because remember, she was in the facility with the old guy.
And he was like, wow, I wonder if this was the cell that my brother got beaten to death in. You're right.
Yeah. So, but who did he kill for the leukemia supplies? I forget.
He did. It was something with Kathleen's brother. That's why she wants Henry dead.
Maybe two brothers.
One
brother got beaten to death
it's
in
the same
facility?
brother. It's the same brother.
Okay.
But you see these people turn, and again, like Joel always talks about how he's a bad guy and how he's not a good person, but I don't see it like that. Again, because there is just no moral compass when you're in a world like this. You have to do what you have to do to survive. And if that's kill people, if that's, turn people in, like you just have to do what you think is the right thing in that moment. So she is someone who I'm sure before Outbreak Day was quite great.
Yeah.
Lived a very normal life.
Midwestern.
And then you get sucked into this world, and they're just the moral compass goes away. Goes away.
I think there was a scene where she brushes by someone and goes, "Oh, oh, sorry, excuse me."
I mean, I do that still, but yeah. So
sums it up.
we get a Joel and Ellie relationship that forms with them getting into Kansas City, and they crash into the convenience store, and then Ellie has to shoot someone, and then we also see this other side of it where Henry and Sam Kathleen is trying to find Henry and Sam, and we are like trying to figure out who Henry and Sam are. But
Henry also, when Henry was turning, and you
Sam.
saw, Sam's the deaf kid. Yeah, so when Sam was like turning, and then you see Ellie just rubbing her blood, trying to like.
Let's get to episode 5. Let's get to Henry and Sam. Yeah, so you end episode 4 and start episode 5 with them pointing guns at Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
You learn that they're unloaded and that they were never planning on shooting them.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Henry, especially Sam, obviously, he's like an 8-year-old, but Henry is not a violent person at nature. But he was like, the closest thing I've ever done to being violent is put an unloaded gun in your face. So we see them. Sam is one of the cutest little boys, he is just so sweet. And you see how much Henry and Sam care for each other, with him trying to protect Sam, obviously him putting himself in danger with Kathleen to get the leukemia supplies for Sam. And that, again, is a representation, not like Bill and Frank, obviously it's a sibling relationship, but how much love there still is, and what you're willing to do for the people you love in this world. It's not like he's leaving Sam out for dead.
Yeah. And where was that like nursery type place? Like it looked like a classroom that they.
Oh, so that is underground.
Yeah.
And that's where some people went after Outbreak Day, and they basically formed little communities down there.
Huh. I wonder what happened to them. Well, all the people pushed the
infected underground.
And oh man.
Yeah.
That sucks.
But I think having Henry and Sam in that does a good job of also mirroring Joel and Ellie's relationship, because it's like Joel is obviously a Henry, willing to do anything at this. We're starting to get to the point of Joel is willing to do anything to protect Ellie, and vice versa with Henry and Sam. And so you see this, and again, you have no choice but to like adore Sam. He's so sweet. He's writing on his little Etch-a-Sketch pad. You know, he has his little Superman mask on. And it again, the world is unfair, and you don't want these people to have to go through something like this. And especially when he's like, I'm hungry. And then the doctor who they were staying with gets killed by Kathleen. And as an 8-year-old, you have to deal with those realities. I mean, I have never had to deal with the reality of hiding in a bunker and, you know, rationing out my food. So you see that there, and you see what it's like for a really young kid who's not Ellie, who, you know, Ellie grew up in Fedra school and was kind of shipped away from all of that and kind of was hidden from all of that for a while. But you see what Sam was like when he's grown up in that world, obviously born after Outbreak Day. And I think it just shows like a very good mirror of how much Joel and Ellie are going to care about each other eventually, which we are starting to obviously see in these more recent episodes. But I also think that was I think that was my second favorite episode.
Really?
Besides episode 3.
Was that episode 4 or
5?
That was episode 5.
So 3 is Bill and Frank, 4 is when they're driving, and then they hit Kansas City.
Yeah.
5 is Henry and Sam.
A lot of people didn't like episode 4.
I think it was more of like a transition piece.
Yeah, I liked episode 4.
I did too.
Yeah.
I like when they're silly and they're not constantly like upset.
Yeah.
Like I like that. That's why I really liked the Riley and Ellie episode, which a lot of people on Twitter were like, "Oh, it was so boring." I liked that we didn't have to constantly be on guard, and I knew. Well, I mean, obviously, you know what's gonna fucking happen, but
because she says I got bit in the mall, so like the whole time, like
you're like,
gonna get bit.
Also, it's like every character that gets introduced in the show dies within like an episode, besides Joel and Ellie. But yeah, so episode 5 with Henry and Sam, I just adored them, and again though, you see the other side of Kathleen trying to kill him and be like, kill the kid, kill Henry, I don't care. And Perry's like, look, I know that you're upset. And he's become her right-hand man. I know you're upset. I know your brother's dead. But he didn't change anything like you did. Because also, like, they have taken over the Kansas City QZ. So she's basically in charge now. And he's like, you're the one that's actually changing things around here. Like, as much as we all loved your brother, he was not the one that changed things. So that leads you to believe, also, funnily enough, that guy who plays Perry is Tommy in the game.
Oh.
Funny fact, but we'll keep going.
How does that sinkhole open up again?
The car.
Yeah.
That lights on fire.
Oh, yeah. Then it goes down.
Yeah. So then we get into, they're running away. Then we have Kathleen and her posse pull up. Boom, sinkhole.
Yeah.
They're infected.
Damn.
And that was one of the scariest scenes in the show so far for me. Because it shows just so much. And then the bloater comes and rips Perry's head off.
Yeah.
And I also found it funny that I've seen this a couple places, that a child is the one that kills Kathleen.
Yeah.
Because she's like, what was this all worth? Was this all worth Sam? Like, was Sam really worth all this? Like, why is he worth more than my brother?
Yeah.
Like, what's the line? Would you really do anything in this world for this little kid? Like, kids die all the time, which is an awful line to say.
Yeah. Well.
But she's like, kids die all the time. Like, what makes Sam so different? obviously it's because it's his brother, but you see that, and she kind of just harps on the fact that she's like, kids aren't that important. Like, they're not more important than you and I. And then she comes and gets her head ripped off by like a Blue's Clues wearing kid infected. Yeah. And Joel has a sick shot. Yeah. Which is what we see.
But what's funny is Joel's not the one who went into the army. It was his brother.
Mm-hmm.
So
he was a contractor.
Yeah. So that's kind of, it's because a lot of people think, like, tries to figure out why he was such a good shot.
I feel like 20 years worth of practice probably helps.
Yeah. Huh.
I mean, right? Isn't that probably, I think it's just practice.
Yeah.
It's also like, I have to become good at this, or.
Yeah. And plus, like selective elimination. If he wasn't, he would be dead.
Right. It's survival of the fittest in that scenario. Also, they're from Texas. I'm sure he had weapons. Yeah. Oh, he did. We see it on Outbreak Day, but I'm sure that he had practice with a shotgun before before Outbreak Day. And then you just have to hone your skills to survive in a situation like that. But yeah, so then you see all of them get infected, and then they get to the motel, and then we see Sam is infected. That one, again, you kind, it's not that it's predictable, but it's coming, because you know that this journey can only be done by Joel and Ellie. Yeah. And you see him with the infection, and he asks Ellie, are the humans still inside when they're infected? And I like full crying at this point. And Ellie says, my blood is medicine. Yeah. Tries to rub her blood on him. Because in her brain, again, or what she's been being told is people have been telling her her blood may be medicine. Yeah. So it's not crazy to think that she would try. And again, she loves Sam. Yeah. From what we can see, and they play together, and she's grown this bond to him, and he has brought out this childlike wonder that she does not have anymore, because she is also hardened, and she kind of gets brought back to life by him, and she would do anything to save him at this point. And she cuts herself and rubs it on the infected wound, and then promises to stay up with him. Then we see, obviously, she didn't stay up all night. She falls asleep. He's turned away from her, because also you have to remember, he's deaf. So his echolocation that infected have isn't a thing here, because he's deaf. So that's why in my brain, I think he's turned away of like, if I can't see her, like it's object permanence, basically. If I can't see her, she's not there.
He did it on purpose.
One can assume, because it's like he can't hear where she is and track with echolocation. So if she doesn't touch him, he can't tell where she is, kind of thing.
Hopefully realizing, that was the most he could do.
Right. Whoa. I thought when I watched that part for the first time, when he inevitably, and then she touches him and he tries to attack her, I thought it was a joke. I thought he was just playing. And then obviously it is not a joke. No.
And plus, it's a good thing he roomed with her, because he knew Ellie would be the first one to come in contact, and then the other two could be infected, would then figure it out.
Mm-hmm. So that's why she like touches his shoulder, and then he attacks. Yeah. Because there is no other way for him to sense who's there. Whoa. Uh-huh. And and so then, and again, that also goes back to the question. So Henry is the one that kills him. Yeah. If, again, obviously Sam isn't fully a huge infected person yet, like, Sam is still in there and knows that his brother is the one that killed him.
Yeah. Damn. So when he shot him, and then he realized that the only reason he was even living was because of to
take care of Sam.
Damn.
Right.
Then he shoots himself.
And then he shoots himself.
And then, like, imagine having to like witness that. Imagine being Ellie or Joel and witness. They've witnessed a lot up to this point, right? But just being like what the fuck?
I know. Her acting in that scene of him killing himself, and the shriek she lets out is like one of the most, again, have never been in that situation, but is one of the most like realistic, pure fear. It's not this like like jacked up reaction. It's she's just scared
Do you think like the director didn't tell her what was going to happen? He just did that right on the spot.
Well, it's not like he dies in real life.
I know, but like just to surprise her, to get a better reaction.
Right, but it is that like, like, it's a shock, and then like when they bury him, both of them, and she writes on the thing, "I'm sorry."
Oh damn!
Like, it is so sad because she loved him, and it's an 8-year-old deaf kid.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want, like, that's just the last thing that you want to be happening. And then they have to just kind of keep going on her journey. And then she's like, let's go. It's the only way you can go in that show. You can't harp on those losses like that, or you'll go crazy, you know? Because it's like, if you harped on every single person you'd lost, you lose that. Like, I mean, you've lost everyone. You couldn't go on. And then we go into episode 6, which is when they are into Jackson.
Yeah.
And it's 3 months later, they do a time jump, and you see they're on a horse.
Yeah.
And they are just kidding. They get the horse in Jackson. They get the horse in Jackson. I'm so sorry. They run into the hunting cabin, which I thought was very funny.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's the best way west? Go east. Because they go to the River of Death, and they think it's full of raiders, and
realize it's the wrong river.
Mm-hmm. So then they run into this gang of the Jackson people, and they have the dog that sniffs out infected, which is scary because if it sniffs out Ellie, they just shoot Ellie on spot.
Yeah. Which that truly means that she eliminates the fungus in her body.
I guess. Or, yeah. I don't know if it's eliminated. I think that's the thing, is that the cordyceps is still in there. It's just not affecting her brain.
Like, it's crazy.
Or it's not affecting her nervous system.
Like, immune systems are only really known to, like... So, what do you think makes her immune?
I don't think we know that yet. Do you find that out in the game?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
Yeah, I watched an analysis video on it. I watched a lot of analysis. If you looked at my YouTube history right now, it's all Last of Us analysis. There's a theory that makes sense that I will not say.
Okay.
I'll tell you later.
If she has antifungal properties. Like how?
That's a good question. Again, I don't know. But
she's immune to yeast infections too.
She doesn't get UTIs.
No fungus.
But
doesn't get athlete's foot. Would probably be better.
But so she doesn't get smelled as infected through the dog, and they're like, okay, you can come with us. And they get to Jackson, which is compared to what we've been seeing, a paradise.
Yeah. And
they run into Tommy.
Yeah. Tommy's a scumbag for not reaching out.
How are you reaching out in that world?
What was the radio? Oh, no, the radio was just to Bill and Frank.
Bill and Frank, and that was like they played the different songs.
But those guys have radios.
No, but didn't Tommy's missus say that he's not allowed to talk on the radio because then they'll find out where they are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to, I mean, they're trying to keep that shit tight.
Yeah.
So, and also like Joel didn't know where Tommy was because Tommy joined the Fireflies and then apparently got out of the fire. Like there was a lot of mystery that we didn't know about Tommy before then. So they get to Jackson, literally paradise on earth.
Yeah.
If you're in that world. And you see again, like how Bill and Frank had a little tiny glimpse of that. You see a whole community that's living and thriving. I mean, in that world, thriving. And you see them and what could be, you know, if life was normal again, what would it look like? And it's Jackson, and you see Tommy, you meet Maria, who is Tommy's wife, we found out. And in my head, the whole episode was like, why the fuck aren't they staying here and ditching the cure thing? Like I would be in my bed, cozied up, taking a shower so fast, you couldn't even think about it. And, you know, Joel's starting to have these panic attacks.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on, obviously, but also he's growing closer to Ellie emotionally. And he has that heart-to-heart with Tommy of like, I can't take care of her. I'm not built for this anymore.
Yeah. That's something that, I mean, That's so just like because he's panicked that he might panic in real like in a big scenario.
Right. He mentions he was like the dog came up to Ellie 5 years ago. They would have all been dead, but I just stood there. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And you are starting to see he's caring about Ellie the way he cared about Sarah, and it's terrifying to him because he's like, I don't want to lose her, another Sarah. You know. And there's that point in the episode where you see the back of that woman's head that looks exactly like Sarah. And he's like, this is, and her daughter's running up to her. This is what Joel could have. Sarah, 20 years later, would be 34.
Wow.
You know, like these are things that could have happened if she was alive. And it hurts him because that's the one thing that like continues to hurt him after 20 years is that Sarah is dead. And so you see this and you're like, he's getting nervous. He wants Tommy to take her on that journey to Eastern Colorado. And then Ellie has one of my favorite scenes from the show when she's like, this is all they cared about. And she's reading the girl's diary that she's, the room she's staying in because she finds out about Sarah after Maria's like, oh, Sarah's actually Joel's daughter. And she's like, which I forgot she didn't know about Sarah until then.
Yeah.
And
then he confronts her. What, you think just because you couldn't save your first daughter that I'm gonna die?
Right. And he goes, you don't know loss. And she goes, everyone I love has either died or left me except fucking for you.
Yeah.
And which we learn in the next episode that just came out who she loves that has died, meaning Riley. But he's like, fuck you, I'm done. Like, you're going with Tommy.
We should put this out on Sunday before the next episode.
We can do that.
Yeah, so people who are like trying to warm up, catch up.
A little warm-up sesh.
Like, oh man, can't wait to Last of Us tonight. Listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
We'll just fill you all in.
Whoop, whoop.
Perfect.
But you see that, and it's not that he doesn't love Ellie. It's that he loves her and doesn't want her to get hurt. And he thinks that he can't do a proper job of getting her to the fireflies and to, you know, get the vaccine made and all of that. And he's like begging Tommy to go. And Tommy's like, look, Maria's pregnant. I don't want to go. Even though he's made that journey before, it's not worth it. I don't know this girl. You know, I haven't developed that emotional connection that you have, basically. Like, I don't want to go. And Joel finally convinces him. And then he goes and gets the horse ready, and he's there waiting. And he said, I'm going to give you a choice. And she goes, let's go.
Why didn't Tommy come too?
So you've mentioned that to me too. And I think it's a numbers game, is why have more when you can have less?
Well, why have less when you can have more?
Because why would Joel want to bring two people that he loves the most in a chance to get hurt? And Tommy didn't want to go in the first place. Tommy wanted to stay with Maria because she's pregnant, and he just didn't want to go on the journey. Like, he just didn't want to do that.
True.
And so why go if you don't have to, especially for someone that you don't know? He doesn't know Ellie. Like, this isn't someone that he's had that same emotional connection with, so it doesn't mean as much to him. And I think in their heads, I would hope they're thinking, okay, we'll go to Colorado, we'll go get the fireflies, we'll go get Ellie's cure, and then we'll come back. And again, who knows if they end up doing that? That's what we as show viewers have to watch. But yeah, like the whole Tommy going instead of Joel obviously was never going to happen because they are main characters in the show. But Ellie does not feel safe with Tommy, which she says, which makes sense. You've gone from Boston to Wyoming with this person, and he's saved you from death multiple times and vice versa. Like, I wouldn't. I feel for Ellie in that position, but again, it's one of those things where like there's no good or bad. I feel for Tommy, I feel for Joel, I feel for Ellie, I feel for everyone in that of like, why risk dying if you don't have to here? In this perfect, they watch movies. Like, they are as close to normalcy as I'm sure the world has at that point. Yeah. And then
Montana State, or was it
Eastern Colorado is where they go. And so
why did I think it was Montana State University?
I don't know, but
Eastern Colorado. Oh, were they the Rams?
Yeah, I think in real life they're at Colorado State. I don't think it's a real college.
Yeah, I think I got mixed up by the colors.
Yeah.
I think Montana State is.
I don't know anything about Montana State. But they get the horse. They hitch their way to Colorado.
Did you see the lab monkeys escape?
Yeah, which they seemed very chill about that. I would freak out about the monkeys. Personally.
Could the monkeys get the virus?
I don't know. Let me Google it.
I mean, I guess that's why they kept running away from anybody that looked like a walker.
Can animals get infected in The Last of Us? Oh, that's the first thing to come up.
University.
They're carriers, but they can't actually be infected properly. The fireflies infected monkeys with cordyceps. I think that they were just carriers, though. In real life, cordyceps fungi mostly infects insects and spiders.
Oh,
cattle aren't immune to cordyceps in The Last of Us, but they're found in areas considered too remote for infected people.
Wait, say again.
This is from I think these are just fans that are figuring it out, but it's simple. Cattle aren't immune to cordyceps in The Last of Us, but they're found in areas considered too remote for infected people, miles away from any QZs.
Oh.
So it's places like Jackson.
Yeah, so if they get bit by a cow, it's cordyceps cow. I mean, so if you get bit by a monkey and they're a carrier, you can get infected.
Yeah, I guess.
Damn.
From what I'm seeing, again, I don't think it's confirmed by anyone, but it's animals can get infected, but it doesn't affect them the same way.
Montana State is the Bobcats.
No.
Wait, no. Who's in Montana?
University of Montana.
Is that university?
But they get to Eastern Colorado. The lab monkeys are there, and then they find raiders.
Yeah.
Which obviously ends poorly. And I don't really know. Again, this is I don't know what they were doing in Eastern Colorado. They couldn't even find anyone. So it seems as if the fireflies were pushed out by raiders. Am I correct to assume that?
I don't think they touch on it in the game.
Right, because it's
I think they just turn up and it's all empty.
Raiders.
Yeah, there's no excuse.
Colorado State is the Rams.
Yeah.
Oh, that's yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
But in the game or in the show, it's Eastern Colorado.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's assumed because there's the firefly markings on the campus, but it's assumed, I guess, that the raiders have pushed out the fireflies or killed them. And then Joel gets stabbed.
Yeah. So
bad.
Raider misses with the axe, stabs him with a stake.
Which I didn't know, but I feel like Joel would know. Wouldn't you leave it in so you don't bleed out? Isn't that what happens? For being stabbed, but
I don't know if that applies. I think it's a dull. I think it's a lot less. I think it was a lot less deep. Because remember, he survives. I don't think it pierced any organs.
Yeah, but he's bleeding out.
Yeah.
When you again, you would know this more than I would of when keeping the stake in stop him from bleeding out.
The thing is, I think it's a little different when it's a stake.
Yeah.
As opposed to a knife.
Probably.
Or a bar, like a piece of rebar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but bad news bears for Joel.
Yeah.
And
this is where also the game differs. The game's a bit better.
Yeah.
He has a tumble from a building that gets actually
and he gets impaled.
Debris, so he has to get ripped out that way, which I kind of wish they kept it.
Ugh, that's just that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Then Ellie stitches her up.
Yeah, so first they get him on the horse and kill the raiders, and then they're trucking along and he falls on the railroad tracks and he falls off the horse and is in one way or another dying.
Yeah.
And Ellie's like, I can't do this without you. You can't die. And again, I know he's not going to die, but I'm like, how the fuck is he not going to die?
Yeah.
So then it cuts to episode 7, which was the most recent episode. Ellie, as the badass she is, somehow drags him into a abandoned home, parks the horse. Think about this. Parks the horse inside the living room so that people can't see if there were raiders or infected, can't see the horse from the outside, and is trying to do what she can to take care of him and not have Joel die. And then it cuts to a flashback.
Yeah.
Of Riley and Ellie in the Fedra school. Or of Ellie in the Fedra school. She's getting bullied, listening to Pearl Jam on her Walkman. which again is another thing where it's like there was no iPods yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if people were listening to Walkmans in 2003. We were 4, but like that's still like you forget that technology isn't caught up to them.
And honestly, that technology probably lasted a lot longer.
It's like how like the joke that like Nokia phones last forever. But you see Ellie's kind of origin story, where she was in the Fedra school. She's a troublemaker in school. She gets pulled in the principal's office basically, and he's like, "You could be me. Yeah. You can live a life that is comfortable and safe, and you can tell people to fuck off. But you can't do that if you're fucking around and
beating up
Bethany,
your squad platoon leader."
Right. And he also mentions that she's been in the hole 3 times, which is like, I think, solitary confinement.
Yeah.
Which is scary for like a 13, 14-year-old girl to have gone into solitary confinement 3 times.
But think about it. Fedra is probably like...
Well, obviously.
Fedra's probably, what? Like, solitary confinement? We just leave you alone?
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
No.
Time out.
Totally. But it is crazy that that's like how they deal with rapscallion little rebellion people in the show. And then we see... I also like how they show Ellie's room, and she has just posters everywhere. She has the Mortal Kombat poster. Like, it shows that she, which we see obviously in the show, but like she has this like fully fleshed out personality, and like fully has a life before we see her now. And also this episode takes place only like 3 weeks before we meet them in the first episode. So obviously we see the bed's missing, or someone's missing from the other bed in the room. Boop. Riley comes. Yeah. And we see their best friends, and then she's like, "Let's go to the mall. BT dubs, I'm a firefly." Yeah. Which it just makes me so sad.
Why?
Because if it's one of those things where it's like, I've had a million of these moments where it's like, if I just didn't do that one thing, like shit wouldn't have hit the fan. If they just didn't go to the mall, if they stayed on the roof.
But you want to show her how fun the mall was.
Right, exactly. But again, it's just like, if you didn't do that thing, which again is at the end of the episode 2, where they go to the mall, and it's one of the coolest shots ever of all of the lights turning on and going down all of the stores. But you see them, and they're having fun, and they're going to Victoria's Secret.
And they're arcade, which they're more interested in.
Yeah, and they're playing the Mortal Kombat. And then they're playing the Mortal Kombat 2, which, remember, a couple episodes back, Ellie finds the Mortal Kombat 2 game in whatever, I think in Kansas City.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or in the Cumberland Farms, whatever. Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I used to play this with my best friend." And they played as that Michelin character. I don't know her name. And she would barf up your bones. And then...
Whoa. Huh.
But yeah, so, and again, and it's so sad that like poor little Riley is like 14, and she's like, "I'm going to join this rebellion army."
I mean, it's not that much different in war zones across the world, like child soldiers.
Very sad. Very true.
I don't know if the fireflies are like that good.
Again, I don't think there's a moral compass, though. I just think they don't like Fedra, and they want to take over.
Yeah. And Fedra is like, if we find a cure, we have to relinquish power.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's just they're trying to
But
exist.
In comparisons to her as a firefly, after all that talking to by the headmaster, why am I forgetting her name at this moment? Ellie just is a full-on fascist.
Yeah, which yelling, you kind of, I feel like you kind of see throughout the show anyways.
Yeah, she's just like you guys kill civilians. Like, if it wasn't for Fedra, like, this place would be in chaos.
Which I feel like she's kind of, not brainwashed, but she thinks that she can do good if she stays with this Fedra school. Yeah. Like, she thinks that she can change things. Yeah. Which, who knows if she, stayed. Maybe she could have. And she's probably going to change things in another way as being the cure. Yeah. But it was just so suspenseful because they're having fun. They're playing games. Something bad's going to happen. This is how she gets infected. And then you see the infected on the wall.
Yeah. I mean, before they showed that, I was like, oh man, when they were like in the photo booth, I was like, this is when they're gonna get hit. Because if you can tell, they were playing horror movie music the whole time.
Well, they're playing Take on Me a lot
In the beginning,
In the
but there's
beginning.
certain moments where there's a certain what's it called? There's a certain audio frequency that I'm actually gonna play that is supposed to make everything eerie. Horror movie frequency. So whenever I hear it, 7 tricks. The human ear is best at registering sounds above the frequency of 20 hertz. Anything below that is called infrasound. Horror movies like Paranormal Activity uses sounds right around the 20 hertz threshold called sub-bass sounds. Infrasound. Yeah, horror movie infrasound. So I can sometimes hear that.
Is it like when a dog can hear things and we can't?
No, wait. Infrasound. This inaudible sound that makes movies scarier. Wait, let me play it.
It's one of the most prestigious and exclusive international film festivals in the world.
Wait 1 second. Let me find it. I just want them to play it. The most terrifying sound you never heard. Play it. 20 hertz. But I can pick up on it, like, because I can tell something's off. I'm like, oh, this is about to be a jump scare. 20 hertz sound. Hopefully this isn't.
Hopefully it doesn't scare you.
Oh, wait, here. Oh, this is the whole spectrum. Wait, this is a whole. Let me find the exact sound. 'Cause
Okay.
20. Oh wait, HC, because literally when that plays, it's in every horror movie, and when there's about to be something scary,
That's
in an episode that starts playing. So throughout, like when they were in the photo booth,
Mhm.
they were playing that sound. When they were
The photo booth is when I thought things were gonna happen because they were like
Yeah.
in that little secluded area.
when they were in the costume shop, that's so like I think they use like they were wearing like scary masks
Yeah.
and stuff. So I think that was like oh, why am I feeling scared right now? Scary masks. Like that's like horror movie. I actually should have talked to when we interviewed Roman.
Oh, the guy from
Yeah, the Bear Jew.
from Glorious Bastards.
Yeah, who's a very famous horror movie director. Romance? No. It's why am I forgetting so many names right now? But anyway, like that's a tactic.
You've had a long night.
I know, I did. So when I was I was in the ER last night. I had an allergic reaction. to
Eli
something.
Roth.
Eli Roth. So
Yeah, I get a text from Billy this morning. Hey, what time do you want to go today? I just got home from the ER.
actually, long story. Turns out my dog doesn't have fleas. Yeah, I took him to the groomer this morning. I was like, "Can you give him a flea bath?" I think he's got fleas because I was just like, I had a bunch of hives last night, and I was like, "Oh, they must be flea bites."
I mean, you had to leave Thursday's episode.
Yeah, to get to the city MD. Went to the city MD, took my shoe off, and
I thought you were gonna lose your leg.
I was like, I felt like an infected.
Yeah.
And anyway, they said you need to go to the ER, and I was like, "What the hell? Like what? I think they're like bug bites. Like, can't you like give me some like,
Benadryl.
What I really was looking for was pollen. There's like a anti-inflammatory steroid. Anyway, they told me to go to the ER. I went to the ER, and they're like, "What the hell?" And then I got an IV.
What'd they say it was?
I got Toradol.
I don't know what that is.
That's like a famous NFL drug that
Oh.
they tell you not to take, but like,
Is it a
just-
steroid?
Yeah, it just makes you not feel pain,
Oh.
and it's just super anti-inflammatory.
So what did they say that Whitey and you have?
Well, White, I don't think has anything wrong with him. I think I just blamed it on him.
Has Whitey been itching?
He wasn't. That's why I was so confused.
And you are?
But there was like sometimes you can see little like flecks if
Okay.
you run underwater, and if they turn red, that's supposed to be
Fleas.
fleas, like because that's the blood they leave over.
Oh.
And I was like, wait a second, what?
Also, I feel like you'd know Whitey's white.
Yeah. And the guy was like, yeah, there's no fleas. So, and I was like, anyway, moving on. That was my
Glad
night
you're
last
okay.
night. Yeah. So
They're in the mall.
they're in the mall. Guy gets attacked. And he was like, remember when they saw like some of those infected that were like spread out against the wall?
Yeah.
And they're dead. So that one was like almost
That
dead.
one was so close to being dead.
And then it just picked up.
It picked up them. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
So it must have been almost dead because Riley had been living there for
Yeah.
weeks. And she's like, well, there's been no one infected here.
Yeah.
And so it was like, again, it's like they were so close. And then she reveals that she's going to Atlanta tomorrow and this is her last night in Boston. And then Ellie leaves. And if Ellie didn't come back, she wouldn't have gotten infected.
Yeah.
Again, it has a different fate for her than most.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't have gotten infected. Riley probably wouldn't have gotten infected. Again, it'd be sad because Riley leaves Boston and go to Atlanta, but
Yeah.
Riley would be alive.
Yeah.
And then the infected comes up
Yeah.
and gets them. So I think that's technically the first infected that Ellie kills.
Right. Kills the infected
And then she's
with
like,
her knife.
yeah. And then she's like, yay, we did it. Like, we didn't die.
And then they're both bit.
And the crazy, like, parallel of Ellie's flipping shit and breaking all the glass
Yeah.
and freaking out. And because, again, you are thinking this is my end.
Yeah.
And then Riley just being silent and sitting there.
Yeah.
And also, Riley had parents and Riley had a family.
Hmm.
Ellie has never known her parents, has never known her family. She's never had anyone she's loved until Riley.
Hmm.
And so you're watching her descend into madness of not only am I losing the only person I love, I'm also going to die
Jeez.
or turn infected.
Yeah.
And then Riley makes that cute speech where she's like, we'll just, be all poetic and shit and lose our minds together.
Yeah.
And it's after they kiss and it's like, oh, like if they didn't get infected, if they didn't stay in the mall for 5 minutes less or whatever, then who knows what would have happened. But we, again, wouldn't have found out that Ellie's immune. And henceforth, the show wouldn't have happened. But I wanted to see, I talked about this with you, I wanted to see what happens when Riley starts to turn and Ellie doesn't.
I mean,
And what happens subsequently following.
how do the fireflies find her?
So here's my theory. I tweeted this. Does Ellie have to kill Riley because she's turning and but that doesn't, it doesn't make a ton of sense of how that happens. And again, I don't know if I'm hoping that they show it in this week's episode of how that goes down. This might be like a grim
I have a
topic,
feeling,
but
I have a feeling that she has to kill Riley. And
Me
then,
too.
Go chill.
she has to go chill in that room with Marlene.
Yeah, she just escapes them all.
But also, if Riley turns and Ellie doesn't, like, Ellie is at this point thinking she's infected too
Yeah.
and will turn together. So why, like, it doesn't put together of like, would Ellie actually kill Riley? Would Riley try to would Riley even try to bite Ellie because she's already infected? Or I'm thinking Marlene shows up in the morning to go get her to go to Atlanta. Marlene sees that she's turned. Marlene has to kill. Or
I think Ellie kills her.
I think Ellie killed her too.
Because
but-
it's going to get to the point, like, let's just turn together and wander this place together.
Yeah.
And then it's like, or maybe she lets Ellie bite her again. And
But
like,
we find out Ellie's not infected, so Ellie
I know,
wouldn't-
but
Ellie
like
biting her
she
wouldn't do
thinks
anything.
that she's like, why haven't I been infected yet? Like maybe you'll speed it up if she bites me.
Yeah. I don't know, but that's what I want to know, how that all goes down.
Yeah.
Because then obviously Marlene has to find Ellie
Yeah.
because that's how the story works.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping tonight when you're listening to this, that is solved within the first, that like kind of the cold open of how does Riley and Ellie's demise happen?
Exactly.
And how does Marlene come into play? Because it's also in the episode where she's like, who's Marlene? So she doesn't know Marlene up until this point. Because she's a firefly and she's in Fedra school. So why would they know each other?
Very interesting.
I know. But I love this show. And that's how caught up we are to now.
So what do you want to see? What do you want to see develop in this show
for this season.
Yeah. Like, what do you predict is going to happen?
So I think, again, the game, people who've played the game knows what happens. I think that somehow, again, we see Ellie stitch Joel's wound. So Joel obviously survives. I've seen the preview for this episode tonight, and it looks scary as hell. And they are with people who I don't know who they are, and they're fighting and killing. So they have to get to the end of the season. I think will end at them getting Ellie to wherever the fuck they need to be, and Ellie somehow becoming the cure.
Yeah. Do you think they kill Ellie?
No.
And like dissect her and stuff? I think they might have to.
I know, but I just don't think that's how they. Again,
I think that's
I know
that's the scary thing. Like,
if you've played the game, you definitely know all of this, and you're probably like screaming at us right now. But
like Joel's like, no, like you can't kill her.
Right, because like, how does the game go on without the both of them?
Yeah.
But or the show or whatever. But it's I think it's gonna end with them because there's only 2 more episodes. It's this and this.
Oh really?
Yep.
Damn.
So I think it's gonna end of they get her to wherever the fireflies are, and then something happens with she's there, and now what? What do you think?
I'm gonna go dark stuff. They get there, get to the lab, and the first thing they want to do is just like dissect her and try to see what.
Open her up.
Yeah, just like, is it her blood?
Is it her brain?
Is it her brain? Is it her blood? And they're like, we got to crack open.
She's
your
basically
skull.
a test subject.
Yeah, like one of the monkeys. And
do you think Joel will happen though?
I think Joel's gonna be like, fuck this, we're getting out of there, and now they have to like run back to Jackson.
And then in season 2, it's them
running back to Jackson,
hiding,
but also probably like trying to throw them off their tail.
Yeah.
Let's check in with Emerson and Tommy.
Yeah. How did you feel about that? No, you've played the game and you know everything.
It's quite hard not to say what happens because I know what happens.
Okay, we'll cut it off there because I don't want to spoil it.
No, but
I don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear it.
So, remind me, do we know who Ellie's parents are?
No, not yet.
So, conspiracy theory was all the kids in there created in labs at the hope of one of them will eventually have the cure.
So that's a good theory, and the only reason that I wouldn't believe that because that kind of reminds me of like the Stranger Things, like 11, how all of them are lab kids basically.
Crazier theory. What if Joel and Tess's Joel and Tess, like, because you could tell they had an on and off again relationship.
What if Ellie's their kid?
Yeah.
I don't think that's it.
I mean, that'd be pretty crazy.
It would be.
Or what if it ends up she is
his kid,
his daughter?
I don't think that's it. The only reason I don't believe that they're all lab kids is because Riley talks about how she did have parents. I think it's more like an orphanage.
Yeah, that they just.
And now they're just training these kids. But I don't know. Obviously, I don't know.
Remember head of the Fireflies in the Boston QZ? Marlene was like, we've been tracking you since you've been born.
Also true. I don't know.
So maybe they had someone else who didn't get infected and their daughter was her, but they got shot and she had to get taken.
Or Ellie's parents, which again, I think there's a preview moment where you see Ellie as a baby. So I think we find out who her parents are, right? At some point.
What, in the game?
No, in the show. Like, I think we find out at some point who Ellie's parents are, how she ended up in the Fedra school. Maybe her mom or dad they thought was maybe immune or something.
And then like got killed another way.
Yeah.
So how do you guys like in New York City?
It's good. It's a bit different. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of car beeping.
There is a lot of all of that.
The biggest thing, and I think Tommy agrees with me. So when you go to buy something, it's not the price that it says.
Tax.
Yeah, but why not just put it on the label?
Because taxes change a lot.
But why not just have one tax across the board?
That's a great question.
You know, we fought a war about taxes once. The revolution. May have heard of it. And I guess it's a worse situation. That's what's going on in England. But no, actually,
do you guys not have taxes in England?
Yeah, we have taxes, but it's like the same. So our tax is 20% across everything.
20%?
But you don't notice it because
it's already tacked on. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so if something is £19,
you pay
it's 19 pounds,
right
but
here, 19,
the
you
one
pay
night or the
20.
380 is already baked into that.
Yeah, everything's
Okay.
already sorted.
Got it.
Um,
Interesting. I did not know. Did you know that? I'm sure you knew that.
Probably. I mean, I don't know.
That I did not know.
But yeah. So, what do you guys do in your spare time? This is an interview. I'm practicing my interview
do you wanna go
skills on.
first? Oh, go on.
So I'm just all about sports, really. Like martial arts. Like I got into like see bar stuff through Paddy.
Oh, nice.
So
Yep.
I wasn't really that familiar with you guys before. Sort of Paddy, got his
Yeah.
sponsorship deal, or whatever it is. So yeah, I do a lot of stuff with like MMA and stuff, and like obviously football, soccer.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
obviously we call it football back in England and whatnot. So everything sports. Like that whole podcast, I've never seen The Last of Us.
Oh.
So everything that you just said is
Oh,
like.
I feel-
I'm sorry.
I
That
might
was
have
probably
to
boring.
watch it when we get back to England
Yeah.
now, so I can.
Well,
figure out
now you
what's
know what
going on,
happens.
but, yeah.
You do MMA?
No.
Just watch.
Just watch, yeah. I have my own sort of like fight thing on social media where I do like graphics for like fighters and stuff as well.
Oh, nice.
So that's pretty cool.
Do you think Paddy won his last fight?
It's hard because I'm quite pally with Jared as well for my stuff. So I have to say no.
Damn, that's a hot take.
It was close. I think it was close,
I
but
didn't watch
it
it.
wasn't like what people are making it out to be, where he's just got like a 3-round battering.
Yeah.
Wasn't the case, but I think he might have just lost it.
Yeah.
But
On the scorecard.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. But with the judges in the UFC at the minute,
Yeah.
anything can happen, can't it? So
Yeah.
I don't know how
Yeah.
that works.
The thing is, Joe Rogan talked about this recently. MMA uses like an outdated scoring system that's based off of a boxing scoring system.
Okay.
And they need to change it up because like there's other stuff that should count for points as opposed to just striking, like wrestling. Some like there should be some other stuff.
see, for me, and this is probably a controversial take to like MMA purists, but with like your takedowns and stuff, if you're not doing anything with them,
Yeah.
if there's no damage or submission attempts or anything like that, then it shouldn't be scored as high as what it is, in my opinion.
Huh. That's a good take. Because because a jiu-jitsu guy will just roll on his back for you just to get you.
Well, if he's gonna do something with it, then fair enough. But you see, like fighters that just lay it on a fighter for a whole round without attempting a submission. He's had like 4 or 5 minutes ground control, but done absolutely nothing with it.
Yeah.
Then
What if he's I guess in that position you can get some ground and pound in, but if it doesn't come out with a knockout, like
ground and pound will still class as damage.
yeah.
But if you're not doing that, I've seen some fights, especially in like Bellator, where a fighter has just lay on an opponent
Yeah.
and done nothing, just lay there, just stop him from getting up.
That reminds me of what was the fight, the McGregor fight where he just got laid on for most of I guess Khabib.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then got submitted in the second round or third round.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
of them.
But no, there was another one. It was the Brazilian guy that subbed in for Aldo. Well, he wasn't Brazilian, he was American. Anyway.
Chad Mendes.
Yeah, Chad Mendes. He was just laying on McGregor the whole
Yeah,
time.
and then got tired
Yeah.
himself, and then got knocked out. didn't he?
Yeah. Huh. Well, I think we're going to finish it up. Last question. I heard you work with animals.
Yeah.
What exactly do you do?
It's hard to explain. So basically, people that rehome animals online
Right.
or sell animals like dogs, cats,
Uh-huh.
any sort of like pet.
Like on Craigslist?
It's sort of like that, but a UK version.
Okay.
Right.
But a bit safer, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, that
It's
makes
sort
It's
of
like a
People like Billy are on Craigslist.
no,
so-
dogfinder.com or like we have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically like if someone's selling something, I have to sort of make sure they place out an advert for that dog.
Right.
I have to make sure it lists all legal requirements.
Oh, so like
So-
you have to make sure they're not selling pit bulls and like
Yeah.
dangerous dog breeds.
Dangerous dog breeds.
Can you
yeah.
guys have pit bulls in England?
No.
Really?
Yeah,
Not at
there's
all?
like 4 or 5 breeds that we can't have. It's anything to do with like pit. You
Yeah.
can't really have.
But you
American staffs can't really allow them.
and you can have American bulldogs.
Yeah, American bulldogs are fine. Yeah.
So
Whitey's fine.
yeah, they're fine. But the thing is, they're the ones like for the people who are dog fighting or want a really aggressive dog. They like take an American bulldog, which is just a big softie
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, and they just like try
Well,
to make them super aggressive.
Pit bulls are the same. It all
Yeah.
depends on how you train,
Train
them,
them.
doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Any dog can be a scary dog if you
Yeah,
train it to
anything.
be scary.
Any
Yeah.
dog can bite, can't it?
yeah.
So
It's true. Damn.
It's just
Yeah.
the stronger ones.
Hurt more.
Before we wrap up,
Yes.
I'd be told off if I didn't mention. So obviously, when I told my girlfriend I was coming on here, it's a conspiracy thing. She had a big conspiracy that I'm going to throw it out there for you guys to look into.
Oh, just list them off.
She had a big conspiracy that the
Shout out to your
royal
girlfriend.
family,
Yeah.
in their spare time,
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Give it to me.
hunt people.
Oh.
So look into it.
Whoa.
Get back to me.
Well, okay.
Probably
Well,
on
are you guys
Epstein
royalists or no?
No, I don't
Okay.
really care.
Right.
I
Because do
mean-
they even mean anything to you?
Not really. They just, just take a lot of money. But I know,
Okay.
obviously, when the Queen died, it was a big deal. But it's just a day off from work, which is thanks very much.
Was there like the whole 10-day mourning period and everything?
No.
There was like queues outside of where her coffin was for days and
Mhm.
days of just people going to pay their respects. But I think for like the majority of people in England are not really that fussed.
They're not
about
really
them.
royalists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just because they don't really do much.
They don't really. Yeah, there's
They-
nothing to.
What's funny is I think it drives a lot of tourism, so people from outside of England don't like care more than you guys. 'Cause it's like go visit.
I mean, I
there's
care.
definitely a population of the UK that are really
Into
into
it.
it, but it's more, I think, the older generation.
Mhm.
But yeah, they've done some messed up stuff. The royal family.
Yeah.
Where do you think they hunt them?
They've got a lot of like different
Properties.
manors and stuff. There's actually one where I grew up about an hour away. There's like a massive like forest essentially. But yeah, that's a theory that they hunt.
In the forest?
They
Is that
hunt
near
people. Like,
Windsor
what's that?
Castle?
No, it's a completely different place.
That's the only place.
Is
I
that in
know
Windsor?
besides Buckingham.
Windsor, that's a place in the UK. Yeah, that's like where did Meghan Markle get married at Windsor?
Maybe.
I think she got married at Windsor. I think
Okay.
that's where they do the weddings and stuff.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I don't really follow it.
Yeah. Geography of England really messes me up because I know where Northumbria is.
But Northumbria, that's near Tommy.
Yeah.
Northumberland.
Yeah, Northumberland.
Yeah, that's literally like our county. Well, we were in town. I'm in town, Tyne and Ware, and then you got Northumberland just
Yeah.
above us.
I just know like from the battles of 1066, like so there's Hastings and then up there in was it the Battle of Northumberland?
Ooh, possibly,
know.
I'm not sure.
And then I know where Wales is, which is in England.
So that's not
Yeah.
far from where I was born. That's about 45 minutes away, Wales, from where I was actually born.
Oh.
So it's not too far.
And then there's Liverpool
Yeah, where Paddy's from.
on the water.
That's right next to. That's probably like half an hour, 40 minutes away from Wales.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's on the west coast, technically.
Yeah, northwest. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
northwest. Yeah.
Billy, you're good.
And then Northumbria is on the east coast.
Northumberland.
Northumberland.
Straight up northeast. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's Scotland
Yeah.
and Ireland.
I think it's crazy as well. Like, so if we was to drive from the top of England
Yeah.
to the bottom, it'd take about 7 hours.
That's it.
Whereas
Wow.
I've driven in America before and it's taken like 5 hours to get
From the same state.
from like LA to San Francisco,
Right.
which is the same.
Really?
Have you guys been to America before?
Yeah, I've been a couple times
Okay.
before.
This is your first time in America? Holy shit.
I drove from Washington D.C. Well, actually, you can travel farther. Is that small?
Yeah,
San Francisco to L.A.
I
So, yeah,
think
you-
it was like 5 hours. It's
I drove 7
6
hours
maybe 6.
from D.C. to New York, but that was just because of traffic. Probably could do it with no traffic. like,
But you're
much
going
shorter.
through however many states.
Yeah.
San Francisco and LA are still in the same state.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
UK is very, very small. It's quite nice.
Yeah.
That you don't have
What's
to travel
the-
so far.
Is the UK size compared to the? I just want to know what.
Is it bigger than
state.
Texas?
If you go in from
No.
UK, you've got at the top of Scotland in that,
Right.
and straight down to it would be somewhere like Brighton, which is
I've heard
Cornwall,
Brighton's
so-
awesome.
I-
I've seen the beach.
I've never been, but I think it's quite hippie and stuff like that. So if you're into
Got it.
it's basically like outside of London.
Okay.
I think it's quite. I mean, I've never been, but
Okay.
I think it's quite hippified.
England's about,
One of my favorite YouTubers used to live there. Or one of my old favorite YouTubers used to live there.
England land-wise looks to be about the size of Nevada.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very small.
That's it?
Yeah, but it looks bigger because it's spread out differently.
But like square mileage wise?
Yeah. Alaska is equal to 7 UKs. Oh, that doesn't even include Ireland. So
Well,
Ireland is
Ireland's not
itty-bitty.
really Ireland's not
Right,
count-
right.
We don't count Ireland.
No.
but I'm looking at this picture of the UK and it's like North Ireland, Scotland, and then England. So that's the landmass that they're talking about.
Do you count Wales? Yes.
Yeah, whales are attached.
Minnesota is basically Minnesota is. Nevada's
That's
a little
crazy.
bigger. Minnesota's the size of the UK, basically.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We're a tiny country.
But a lot of influence.
Yeah, we helped win the war in World War II, so you're welcome.
Helped.
Sure.
We wouldn't be speaking German. No. Jokes.
But this was fun, guys.
Thanks for having us on.
Oh my
Of
gosh,
course.
thanks for
Thanks for
coming. Thanks for
making
coming across the pond for us.
That's okay.
Let's get you some more gear.
Yeah, I have some shirts for me,
Definitely
guys.
Unreleased
Hats.
gear.
I got one question. This
Yes.
is going to sound random, right? We've
Yeah.
been playing this game on our trip. We see these blue Teslas.
Oh,
yeah.
Revels.
What are they? Because
They're like an Uber.
we at one point we were thinking, is this some guy just following us around?
No,
Because
so
we kept
I
seeing the
think
same
it's
one.
if
No.
if it's not just a New York thing, it's just major cities. But I think it's just a New York thing. They're like kind of like a Uber, like a car service, but you can sometimes rent them yourself and drive
Yeah.
them yourself.
Okay.
Basically, it's the government gives them tons of subsidizing because it's all electric cars.
Yeah, it's all Teslas.
Oh, okay, so Elon Musk has nothing to do with that then, because I asked Emerson yesterday, is that like a part of Elon Musk?
It's not like a part of Tesla Corp. It's just because it's electric cars.
It's super profitable because they don't have to pay half the taxes because it's
Yeah.
like all electric, green energy type stuff. So they're trying to
Okay.
make that become more successful than rental car companies or Uber.
But they have them just kind of placed around the city, and then you download the app. And there used to be one that was parked like right by my old apartment, and so basically you can go on the app and be like, "Where is there one near me?" And then they just have it there. They can do it with like mopeds too, so which is terrifying because I think you need a special license to drive those, and it's like obviously kind of like a motorcycle. But yeah, so you can either pick them up yourself, or I've been in a Revel where someone is driving me.
Couple things. So another thing we've noticed is like, so we'll check on Google Maps. It's like, it's only 2 blocks down, but the blocks are massive. So
Avenues are
so
massive.
do you walk everywhere here, or do you
Yes.
Uber?
You can walk
Well-
a good amount in the
Because
same
we're finding
neighborhood.
out we're like getting our legs are shattered after like 2
Right.
hours.
It's
We
it.
walked 20 kilometers yesterday.
Yeah, when you're visiting, you're walking everywhere, and like you're just trying to see everything that you can, and so you walk a lot when you're visiting.
Yeah.
Here, when I'm here and I live here, I subway everywhere, basically,
Yeah.
and then or I walk a lot. But
So
you get used to, your body gets used to it. I'm not walking like
Yeah.
as much as you guys are when you're coming to see things. Like I basically on a normal day like this, I take the subway to work, go home. Like
Although it's like massive, it's so much. I find it personally much easier to find my way around,
mhm.
especially the subways, because unlike the tubes in London, I still don't know what I'm doing now.
They have that circle way of describing it.
Yeah, so it's like the
Yeah.
lines, and there's so many different lines, but like
It
you
doesn't
know, like
make sense.
you guys have like A, B,
Mhm.
C. There, it's like Piccadilly line, King's
Yeah.
Cross line, and all the map on the tubes all go over each other. So you're
Yeah.
trying to
Okay.
find where they're going. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit to figure out the subways, at least for me. You grew up in
Yeah.
this area, so you get it. But yeah, no, I just subway everywhere. Or if it's like close enough, I'll walk. But the only time I really Uber is if I'm really late at night and
And
maybe
another-
have had a beer.
Another thing I've noticed as well is like, so tipping in the UK is not really a
Yeah.
thing.
No,
Like,
you gotta tip
we
here.
sometimes do it with like restaurants. You may do it, but like you buy something here and everything,
And then they turn the screen around.
Is that like a thing that you always tip for stuff?
That's
or-
new. I mean, there's
No,
certain
it's
things
not
you
new,
there's
but-
certain things you always tip for. Restaurants, cab drivers, delivery food.
right.
But then when COVID happened, like buying a coffee, they say, "Do you want to put a tip?"
Yeah. We felt you went to the game yesterday and you felt pressured.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they pressure you.
we went to
Peer pressure.
the Nets Bucks game yesterday, and obviously Emerson got a beer. But I don't really drink beer, so we were looking for a drink, and I got a double Malibu,
Yeah.
and it was
Damn.
$26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get 5 of them in England for the price of
What?
that.
Yeah. No, sports games really overcharge.
Jack up the
Oh, I
prices.
couldn't believe it.
It's to make sure people don't drink too much, and also
Because
because
they
they
can.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it every arena around
Yes.
the country like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even like the prices of food is.
Yep.
Like,
It's every
extortionate.
arena in
Oh.
every city, and yeah.
So
It
it's quite
sucks.
cool that you can actually drink alcohol while you watch the game, because when
Can
you
you
watch
not do
football in
that?
the UK, you're not allowed to take beers into the stadium. You have to drink a beer on the concourse, and you
Okay.
can't take it to your
Your
seat.
seat.
And you can't take like bottles with lids, because people
You can throw 'em.
them and stuff
That's
like that.
They
Yeah.
do that at a lot of stadiums where they'll unscrew their water bottle for you,
Yeah.
and then they won't give you the lid.
Oh.
They do that, but
Yeah.
you can still take the water bottles to your seat.
Yeah.
But no, it's cool.
Yeah, or they pour it in a
Yeah.
plastic cup. Yeah,
And
but
then we make beer snakes. Where
Yeah,
the
but
whole
no,
crowd
that's
stacks up.
that's something that you've copied from, I think, us that we used to at cricket.
Oh.
Yeah, you just.
Oh,
I'm
really?
sure
When did you guys start doing it?
Years ago, I think.
oh yeah, Billy, you're
Because
new on this
British,
shit.
no, British people, even the darts, right? The darts, they just stack loads of drinks, and then you
Darts day,
We
darts.
do that.
What's darts day?
different thing,
We,
different
there's
thing.
darts.
There's
Just
darts here.
Darts comes to Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, we saw an advert for it of like
Yeah, I'm going
the
this year. I
darts that
think
we.
Oh, nice.
I got invited.
I got invited too.
Shut up. You want to go?
Yeah.
Let's go.
I don't know if I can go because it's the first. It's PLL opening weekend, so I might have to be working.
That lacrosse, right?
Yeah.
I think I played lacrosse at secondary school once during PE,
Is it?
and I couldn't do it.
I heard that lacrosse is only played by women in England,
No, that's a myth.
and that it's like field hockey here.
No, field hockey's a completely different sport.
Yeah.
I know, but field hockey, both men and women play, right?
No,
Yeah, for us they do. Yeah.
but
men don't play field hockey in America.
right. So
Really?
I thought only women play lacrosse.
No,
Oh,
I think some universities play it like same way that some universities do American football,
Okay.
but it's anyone can sort
Yeah.
of play it. But it's not really a league or anything. It's just more of a hobby.
got it.
People.
I think if you said you played lacrosse in England, you'd be known as a Tory.
What's a Tory?
It's the people that, do you know, like Paddy says, like fuck the Tories. Paddy and Molly like fuck the Tories.
Yeah.
For the common people like us, we don't really like them.
It's a bit of a posh person. That's what
Okay,
you'd
like a
call it.
douchebag.
Yeah, I guess.
No,
so.
it's like an elite,
Oh, okay.
hyper conservative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck the Tories.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always.
Okay, so it's like a mega rich asshole.
Was what's his face? English Donald Trump a Tory?
Piers Morgan.
No, the old prime minister.
The old prime minister.
Boris?
Boris
Boris
Johnson.
Johnson. He's an idiot.
Was
He was a moron.
Is he a Tory?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Tories are still in power, but they've had like their fourth prime minister in a couple years. They just keep putting a new one in. Because,
Right. There was that woman for like 2 months.
Yeah, I can't remember. her name. Liz Truss. Yeah, they're all very bad. They're all awful.
Is it,
We have the same problem
have
here.
you seen the videos of your new prime minister partying?
Rishi.
Yeah. There's videos of
Yeah.
him like rolling at a
He
party.
can
Good for
cut some
him.
moves.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, but
Not good
we
for
don't
him.
like him.
you don't like him?
because
Oh shit.
His it's a bit of a long-winded thing, but his wife is very, very rich, and she lives in the UK, but she doesn't pay tax in the UK.
Oh,
they
so she's like evading
Uh,
taxes.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing.
Got it.
And he's also meant to be like a money expert person, but I think UK we have like the highest bills for electricity and gas
Okay.
and water and
And he's
Everything.
a Tory?
yes. Yeah.
Where's his
So-
wife live?
They live in England, I think, but I think she's originally from India.
So she's paying taxes in India?
I think. I'm
So
kind
they're
of
doing like insider trading, but under her name,
Something-
and then she
something
has to
like
pay
that.
Indian taxes. We got people like that.
yeah.
Paul Pelosi.
I don't know who that is.
You don't need
I know who
to.
Joe Biden is.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
all you.
that's it.
Yeah, it's okay.
And obviously, we knew Donald. It's weird because your politics probably takes over our news more than what our politics does. Like when Donald Trump was getting into power, that was like a massive thing
Yeah.
for us.
Well,
it was meant to help us actually, but I don't think it ever did.
Your royal family takes up a lot of our gossip rags.
It's more
Even-
gossip than news. I feel like.
Yeah, but
Right, and then like right now with all of the
Meghan-
Harry and Meghan shit.
Yeah, that's a weird one because he obviously split because he wanted his privacy and
And now he's not.
now he's in the news more than
he
ever
was.
before. But yeah, I don't.
I think he doesn't realize that the English press actually respected his privacy a little more than the American press will ever. Like paparazzi wise.
Yeah, well, you also before he married Meghan, I don't think he was in the news for
like
being a
doing
bit of an
drugs and
army
stuff.
person and a bit of a
Yeah.
party person. But other than that, he was kind of the one that people liked because
Yeah.
he was like a bit
I
of
like him
a
still.
common person. But
Yeah.
you get people that have really turned against him because he left. But I think it's more of an old person thing.
I feel like most people turned against him because of Meghan, because she's comes English people use her as an easy target to get at.
Yeah.
But for like me, I like him. I think he's good.
Hmm.
Not that he does anything for us, but obviously he was in the army, which is amazing. But other than that,
Well, unfortunately, we're gonna have to wrap it up. Mad Dog's got a meeting to get to.
I do have a meeting, but this was so fun. I'm so glad you guys came.
thank
You guys
you.
are welcome to talk Billy as long as you want about England. I don't have anything
Thanks
to
for having
add.
us. No, it's really cool. It's really cool to see everything. And
I'm glad you guys got to come.
Welcome to America. All right, now I'm gonna go show you America.
okay.
We're going
Also,
to the bar. No, I'm kidding.
Also, go Bengals.
Oh, go Bengals.
Love it. Go
I
Bengals.
love the
Go
Bengals.
Go Joe Burrow.
Go Joe Burrow.
Do you,
Yes.
do you guys? I see you're wearing a Raptors. Did you guys come here and just buy a bunch of sports memorabilia?
Yeah,
Oh, you brought it
well,
with
buy
you?
stuff when we're here. Just whatever.
The Kraken.
I've also
You're
got
in
a
the
Kraken.
Kraken.
The Kraken and the
Did
Knicks
you
NHL.
buy a Kraken?
and the Raptors.
the clothing over here for sports clothes is so expensive.
Oh.
Really?
Like we were in the NBA store yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a Washington Wizards fan,
yeah.
and it was like $40 for a little t-shirt, like a plain t-shirt.
Yeah.
That is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Overpriced.
Huh.
But yeah, basically wherever I go, I just tend to buy something from the game, and then
As you should.
yeah. So I've got a mixed match stuff, but I only buy Bengals gear.
That's
Nice.
funny.
Joe
Like the Bengals.
Burrow.
Okay. Well, this was so fun, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for listening. We love you guys as well. And go watch The Last of Us and watch us. Okay, bye.